Track Record with your hosts Mike Shea and Robert Yetter. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the, I guess, season finale, sort of Track Record. I'm your host, Mike Shea, joined as always by
Robert Yetter.
And it's the last show of 2017, and we're going to ring in the new year like true alcohol drinking bosses.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
how
and like everyone else too.
Oh yeah, I mean, like if you're not drinking on New Year's, what are you doing? Probably working.
Everyone else is making top lists too, though, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Oh yeah, everyone's got top 10 films of the year, comic books of the year, books of the year, whatever. This is top 10 season.
But I think here at Track Record we have one of the best lists, if not the best list, because we rule, and we are some alcohol consuming bosses.
Yes, we are, and this is a pretty boss list, if I do say so myself. This list took a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. This was one of the most painful experiences on this show, and loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it was really fun because we have different tastes in music, and it was kind of hard to bring that all together in one definitive list. So what we're actually going to do on this show is we're going to give you our combined top 10, and so that's going to consist of mutual picks that we had in our own lists, and also we picked from like honorable mentions, stuff that was higher on the others list. We'd be like, well, I kind of enjoyed that too, so we'll throw that in there. So it's kind of the way that we crafted the list was very peculiar. So we're going to go through the ultimate list first, is what we've been calling it, and then we're going to go through our singular list that we built on our own, and you can see how we kind of built our final list off of those.
We're going to treat it like a Tarantino film. We're going to show you the ending, and then we're going to go back to the beginning and show you how we got there.
That's right.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But this would not be an episode of Track Record if we didn't take care of business first. Robert, buddy, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I've got just a cup of juice. Maybe I might have had a little tequila earlier.
Just a little?
Maybe. we did pretty much the whole bottle last night, so it was fun.
I'm drinking straight bourbon with grenadine.
Whoa!
And that's it. I'm out of cola, and I didn't stop at the store on the way home.
It's like that's hardcore, man.
Yeah, that's how I roll. Well, considering the last few shows, it's been just like, I'm just drinking some apple juice. Drinking a cherry Coke with some extra grenadine.
Last night, so
got tanked the night before, so I'm taking it. But tonight, it's like, no, you know what? I just got back from seeing Star Wars again. It's coming up on the holidays. It's the last show of the year. I figured, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's go big or go
time
home.
to celebrate, man. And it's red,
And it's red, and it's cherry, and it's sweet, and it's awesome.
Well, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, buddy.
What do you think? Let's
get into this.
You're going to start with number 10, right? We're going to go 10
yes,
through
sir.
1. We're just going to trade it off.
Yeah, man. This is going to be good. This was carefully crafted, folks. So trust us when we say we eventually knew what we were doing here. Number 10.
Yes.
Number 10 on our master Track Record top 10 of 2017 list was Codex Omega by Septic Flesh. Now, this is an album that we talked about at length in, one of our earlier episodes. I believe it was
episode 3, I believe.
Was it 3? No. 3 was
2.
Bright Eyes and Judas Priest.
Has it been that many episodes? What are we on now? 13?
We're on 13, yeah. When did we talk about that one? But we talked about Septic Flesh, Codex Omega, and man, it's a great album. I mean, I'm not gonna gonna pander on it too much because we have a whole episode dedicated to it, but just some great metal that's got a little bit of a twist in it that I don't think anybody's going to be expecting, and I think everybody should give this one a shot.
Yeah, on that, I think 2017 was kind of lacking in the symphonic area.
Yeah,
we'll get to that a little later too.
But I do think 2018 is going to be a big year for symphonic metal.
I hope so.
We've got new Camelot. We've got a new Epica album coming. I think Within Temptation has a new one coming. I think we're going to have some good stuff coming.
Good.
Speaking of what's coming up next, Robert, tell them what's at number 9, man.
Number 9 was one of my picks, and it is the album Utopia by Björk. And this was something that I think would be a surprise on the list for sure. It's me and you. I guess some people have gathered that we do like some different stuff, but Björk to me is just a gem, and so it wouldn't be a top 10 list if you didn't include one of her releases. And this one is, I don't know, like her 8th or 9th album
at least.
And it's just
Jesus.
It's the way that she's morphed is so beautiful. Very unorthodox music. I'm sure many people are familiar with it. It's a lot different than her earlier stuff, where her vocals really stick to, at least the beat of the music. But on a lot of her later stuff, she really goes off beat and off the beaten path, and it's really cool. Fun to listen to. Utopia by Björk at number 9. Mike, what's at number 8?
Number 8 is one of my picks. It's one that I'm pretty big fan of. It's Outlive by Demon Hunter, who is a band that I discovered by accident God knows how many years ago and have been hooked on ever since. They're a strange pick for me because they're Christian metal, and I'm a pretty staunch atheist.
I noticed that while I was listening to them.
But I like them because they're a Christian metal band that isn't like big on the Jesus.
Yeah,
they're not a worship band. They're it's kind of like Skillet or Red. It's like it's Christian music, but it's not worship music.
Right.
So, but this album I have had on repeat every month. I listen to it for like a week straight. I love it. I love Ryan's vocals. He does a very, very unique vocal style. Great intro, great heaviness, great variety. So definitely one worth checking out. It was independently produced. They crowdfunded it and did it all themselves, and it's been going strong ever since. I really like this album. Number 7, though, I think is one that we're going to gush about a bit more. Robert, what's number 7?
Number 7 is Gods of Violence by Creator, and this was on your list, and we came to the, not to delve into your list already, but we came to the agreement to put this on here after I listened to it, and it's power metal, but it's good power metal, and that's pretty much all I can say about it, really.
See, I always called them Creator. Is it Creator?
I don't know. It's Creator just with a K.
It's a good fucking album.
Creator.
Is what it is.
I like that better.
Yeah, it's a good fucking album though. This one came out. This is one Creator, whatever, is a band that I always kind of forget exists, and I don't know why. They're not exactly forgettable, but man, this is just talk about brutal. This is a brutal fucking album.
Yeah, that's how you want metal to be, and when your power metal fails to be brutal, then it's not good.
Yeah, man. It's good
Speaking of brutal metal, number 6, Mike. What do we have, man?
Number 6 is one that we talked about on our very first episode of Track Record that I would have missed if not for Robert recommending it to me, and it is Dear Desolation by Thy Art Is Murder.
Yes.
And this is one of the few that crossed over on both of our lists. This is again, I'm not going to gush too much. Go listen to the first episode. We say some pretty sweet things about this album. This is a good, brutal, intense, aggressive collection of music.
Yeah.
Man, this is a good one. Die Hard is Murder, Dear Desolation. You can't go wrong with this one. And the only reason it's at number 6 is because that's about where it was on both of our lists. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with the album. There was a lot of really good music that came out this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, this is such a good album.
Yeah.
Getting back,
it's like deathcore, but but
good.
more they're leaning towards the the death metal side, which I like, and so we talk about that again. But
yeah,
you're right. It's deserving of a spot on this list.
Another one that kind of creeped out of nowhere, that caught me by surprise and has a great story about it. And I might get into this later. We'll see. But Robert, tell them what number 5 is.
Number 5 is Theater of Dimensions by, am I saying this right, Xandria. You pronounce the X as a Z.
Yeah, it's either Xandria or Xandria, but yeah, it's pronounced like a Z.
Okay. And this is, again, going back to symphonic metal. This one's kind of the more the stereotypical symphonic metal that you would find with the female vocals, rather than the Septic Flesh, which is kind of like more death metal than symphonic metal. Mm-hmm. But if not like the only release of note in the symphonic metal is this one.
Yeah, and there's a good story behind it.
It pretty much just automatically goes up here.
Yeah, I mean, we set a rule for ourselves: no live albums, no EPs. Otherwise, this would have been
Epica.
Even harder to make. Epica. There's a bunch of other ones. But this album has a great story behind it because it's also the last album with this vocalist. She left the band recently, I believe, and there's fuzzy details I'm not going to go into about it. But so for her to go out on a note with Theater of Dimensions like this, I think is a great send-off and a great testament to how well she's led the band up to this point, and one of the best albums of 2017, Theater of Dimensions.
Yeah, it was my first foray into that band, and I gotta say I enjoyed it a lot. Mm-hmm. A lot. That vocalist is actually pretty close to Simone from Epica. She's got some pipes.
Yeah, she reminds me of like some weird middle ground between Epica and Tarja, who was Simone of Epica, and Tarja, who was the original vocalist of Nightwish. Kind of a little half step between there.
Okay. Oh, number 4, Mike. This one.
Yeah.
It could almost be a number 1, but...
Well, number 4 is one that was on Robert's list, and it was on my honorable mentions, and that is Relentless Mutation by Archspire.
Yes.
Now, this album is unique in that, like, you got to go to Bandcamp to get this one.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. There's like it's hard to find. But
there's the label that they're on. They have just a lot of bands, metal bands, and they do a lot of releases on Bandcamp. You can actually get their whole on Bandcamp. You can do like a sell your discography and you get 15% off or whatever. They do their whole label discography. It's like $250. You get every single album from every band that signed with them. Yeah.
That's like getting the season pass for a video game, man.
That's a lot of music right there.
Yeah. But if it's all as near as good as Archspire.
Archspire was kind of a hidden gem, but it's been picking up a lot of steam just for its technical prowess, its its production, the kind of the thematic elements behind it, with the talking about that Japanese doomsday cult. If you look at some of the lyrics and stuff, it's kind of weird subjects, but it's really listenable technical metal. It's just really listenable. I can't explain it any other way. I've never found so much enjoyment from listening to something this technical.
It was definitely, there was a lot of, I don't know if creativity is the word I want to use, maybe originality with this one. That just really, like I said, it made my honorable mentions list. There was a lot of other stuff that I liked this year. It didn't quite squeeze it onto my list, and it squeezed it onto Robert's. And so when we were comparing lists, and it was like, well, you've got that one there. It was my honorable mention, and it was really hard not to put on my list. And so to me, it was a no-brainer. Like, all right, if I was thinking about it and Robert went ahead with it, it's got to go on the top 10. This is a good album.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful.
So now we're getting into our top 3. Now I'm going to let everybody know this right now. Our top 3, little controversial. Little controversial. Bear with us. Trust me, we can back every statement we make from here on out. But you're in for a treat, and I think you're in for a pleasant surprise. Starting off the top 3, Robert, what do we got?
All right. At number 3, we've got Xenocide by Aversion's Crown. Now, this is another deathcore entry into the list, along with Thy Art Is Murder. But this album to me is very unique in its writing and its production. A lot of people in the metal community had an aversion, I think, to how it was produced. It's not a very orthodox sound, but I think it's very listenable, and I welcome the difference. But it's just really, you can't skip a song. It's just very unique, and it has to be at the top of a list. It's at the top of most people's lists for this year. If you like metal and deathcore, I've been perusing other lists.
Yeah, this is the part where it gets a little controversial, because this is one that wasn't on my list at all. It was, Debbie. Do you want to spoil where it was for your list?
Yeah, this one's number 1 on my list.
We fought about this for a few minutes.
So
this is where the tension really came in during the process for making this list.
Well, it was, we were like, you know what, we've got our number 1, like, 2 and 3 are 2 and 3 were our number 1s on our individual lists. And so we knew we weren't going to give them up, but we wanted to fight for the number 2 spot,
Yeah.
I was the bigger man, and
yeah, whatever.
I gave it to you.
Whatever. I wanted you to have that. I wanted you to have that knowledge, knowing that you were the bigger man. That's why I let you.
It's cool. I'm just happy that that Archspire's up so high.
We were both stubborn dicks about it. Neither one of us wanted to yield, because, number 2 on this list is number 1 on my personal list.
You can go ahead and mention it probably now.
Yeah, so number 2 on the master list is The Sin and the Sentence by Trivium, which is number 1 on my list. We'll get to that a little bit later. This was to me was kind of a comeback album for Trivium. They had gone through some issues with their previous album, between the vocalist needing to have vocal surgery, so that album was completely devoid of scream vocals at all. They went for a slower, more melodic sound on it. Also, the drummer who was with them departed after that album, and so there was a lot of wondering, when is Trivium going to put something new out. They finally did. Kind of got back to their roots a little bit with kind of the groove metal and the heavier vocals and the heavier drums. And to me, it was a really good comeback for these guys to get back to what made them popular in the first place, because they started out really young. So the album just has a great story behind it, and it's one that has just so many great single tracks on it that I can listen to on repeat. So I had to put it at number 1 for myself. And so when we were fighting over which one got which spot,
so we weren't huge fans of the others' number 1s.
No, and for the same reasons, pretty much. Neither of us liked the production style of the other person's number 1 album.
Yeah.
This was tough. This was probably the toughest part of. We spent more time on our top 3 than we did on the rest of the list, which sounds kind of normal, but it really just came down to where we putting our number ones at.
Yeah.
But the one that we did settle on for the number 1 spot, neither of us had any qualms with, because it just kind of made sense to us.
Yeah.
It's another one that we both had in common and that we both had really high on our individual lists. And also, it's just a really fucking good album.
Yes.
Robert, tell them what it is, man.
It's Lust for Life by Lana Del Rey.
Send us your tweets. Send us your tweets.
You can't.
It's fine.
I don't
You
know that
can't-
anyone can argue with that, though.
People are going to try.
When you put in your headphones and you put that shit on like 1,000% volume,
Man.
and it just like her voice and the kind of unorthodox production, just you let it enter you and you let it enter you real nice and slow, and just let it take you over.
Here, people have asked me why I like Lana Del Rey so much, and here's what it really comes down to. First of all, she's so classy. Like
Yes.
in her appearance and the way she carries herself on stage, she's a very classy person. She honestly reminds me of like really old school Bond girls. How they always kind of just had the nice done hair,
Yeah.
beautiful dress. You know, they carried themselves with confidence. Yeah, they eventually gave in and slept with Sean Connery, but all of the Bond girls were strong women in their own rights. And she strikes me as just, she'd make just saying, next Bond movie, she'd make a great Bond girl.
And Lana Del Rey doesn't. She doesn't go with the mainstream. She really doesn't. She and her style is different on every album.
She's so old school.
Yeah.
The songwriting, the musical style, the production, it's all like... It's all like 50 style,
there's
man.
that, but she throws in a lot of, some little quirks, like in the one song from the album, she says, with dripping peaches, I'm camera ready almost all the time. So there's like these little things, and she'll throw like a motherfucker in there or something, just like weird stuff that she does,
She's not afraid to play with the big boys, man.
Yeah, and
she'll talk about sex, and she'll talk about some slightly risque things. She doesn't care, and frankly, neither do you, because the whole time you're listening to her sing, you're like, I don't care what you're saying. You get lost in her voice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And the other thing I like most about Lana Del Rey is, like, Beyonce's talented and all. Everybody calls her Queen Bey, whatever. Beyonce can hold a note for a really long time, okay? She can hold a note for a really long time, and that's fantastic. But Lana Del Rey can convey and make you physically feel every emotion imaginable with the softest, most peaceful, most honest, genuine, innocent voice imaginable. To where you hear her sing, and suddenly you are lost in every strong emotional memory you have. She will trigger it for you without belting, without yelling, without any of that. She just sings it simply and softly, and you feel it all.
Yeah, it's good.
She's the musical representation of less is more. She does so much without a whole lot.
And speaking of, lyrically being risque, but having just like this really soft, sweet voice, which can be strong sometimes, but it's, it's jazzy and bluesy. And but there's, she worked with The Weeknd on this album. And
that's right.
And that was my first. That was the first thing to come out for this, I believe. Excuse me, is the title track, "Lust for Life," and I love The Weeknd personally. but he's kind of like the male equivalent of that, in that he'll be talking about the dirtiest, raunchiest stuff, you know, and he's just got that beautiful voice, you know. It's funny.
I got to be honest with you.
You guys should look at some YouTube
I've never listened to The
comments on
Weeknd.
his videos. It's he had an album that came out December 2016, I believe it was, and I think that was one of the best albums of 2016.
Like I
he
know his
definitely
name.
made a lot of money off of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know his name. I know what he looks like. I've never actually listened to any of his music.
It's good.
Yeah,
Check
but
it out.
the track he does, like I said, the title track on this album he does with her is, man.
I'll listen to that on repeat.
How can you
No
not?
lie.
Lana Del Rey, like people talk about like how, oh yeah, this is music for angry sex and this is music for baby making. Like Lana Del Rey is music for that sweet, sweet anniversary, romantic, slow love making, man.
Hell yeah.
Lana Del Rey is just, I mean, Lana Del Rey is the queen of all humans. Okay, let's just get that straight right the hell now. She is our queen, and we will bow down and worship the ground she walks upon.
Sounds good.
Man,
There's about 2% of people that would agree with us.
I know. Such a small. I don't care. That's enough. That's all we need.
And now on to our real number one, Taylor Swift.
You take this one, man. Go ahead.
Taylor Swift No, I'm playing.
One of my friends that I work with is the world's biggest Taylor Swift fan. I kid you not. Karina is in my phone as Karina Swift. Like that's, I changed the name in my phone. That's how much of a dedicated Taylor Swift fan
Good.
she is. I'm not going to play. I'm not. There are times that I do like what she does. It's not my thing. But Jesus Christ, this album came out like a month ago and it has taken the world by absolute freaking storm. So
I think in reality she's made one good song, and that was for the Hunger Games soundtrack, a song called Safe and Sound.
I don't think I know that one.
And it's beautiful, man. That'll bring a tear to your eye. But that's not, folks, that is not our actual number one. Our number one is Lana Del Rey, Lust for Life. I'm just joking.
But he did write that on the list. The real number one, Taylor Swift, Reputation.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's I mean, all the Taylor Swift fans right now are like, what do you mean it's not actually number one? You bastards! I'll kill you all!
It's just funny. We've got, well, with the exception of Bjork, it's like,
it's all metal.
Björk, it's got an umlaut on the O. It's Björk.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of a, I don't think people were expecting that from us.
No.
With the whole list of metal.
And even my number one list, my personal one, is a little bit all over the place, but it's still has kind of a common theme. Lana Del Rey is on there. There's a couple others on there that people aren't probably going to be expecting, but
yeah. Well, why don't we get into those, man?
All right, well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll knock out some quick housekeeping promos, and we'll come right back, and we'll dive into our personal number one top tens. You know what our number ones are, but we'll talk about our personal top 10 lists, and so stick around. We'll be right back.
The weekdays are made for working, but the weekends, those are made for gaming. Join Ellison Smith every Saturday for a new episode of Saltwater Gaming as he breaks down video games of all different genres, consoles, platforms, and eras. Get a bit of the old and a bit of the new, a bit of the action and a bit of the mystery. Get it all every Saturday on Saltwater Gaming, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. There's a reason they call them lazy Sundays. There's nothing better than sitting around and enjoying the comforts of a good book. But what book should that be? Well, every Sunday, Eventide brings you The Bookseller, hosted by Jessica Gillen. Each week, Jessica breaks down a different book and tells you everything you need to know before cracking it open and getting lost in a whole new world. Tune in every Sunday for The Bookseller with Jessica Gillen, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers,
writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes.
Welcome back, everyone, to Track Record. We are counting down our top 10 of 2017. We just gave you our master list of top 10 beautiful albums, and we think that you will agree with most of our choices, especially number 1, Taylor Swift. I'm kidding. Go listen to the first part of the episode. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through my top 10, maybe talk about a couple of them, and then Mike's going to go through his top 10 and maybe talk about a couple of them, and then I think we'll have a show there. So
that is for me to decide if we have a show. So let's get there.
That is your job. That is your duty.
I have one fucking job on this show.
You have one job on this show. No, you have 2 jobs. The first is just make words come out of your face, because it'll vibrate in that beautiful box that you call a vocal. Wait, what is it called?
A vocal booth.
A vocal box.
Sure.
Your voice box.
The talk box.
And the talking thing. All right, so Robert's top 10 list of 2017. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Number 10 I have is Codex Omega by Septic Flesh. We talked about that one. Number 9, an album called Iteration by Calm Trues.
Get it!
If you guys are into synthwave, everyone's heard of Calm Trues by now. I believe this is the 3rd album in his kind of weird concept story that he's trying to tell with electronic music. Pretty cool music video for one of the songs on the album. Everyone go check that out. Iteration by Calm Trues, number 9. At number 8, I've got Dear Desolation by Thy Art Is Murder. Number 7, I've got some more deathcore. There's actually a lot of deathcore on my list. It was a good year. Number 7 is Reclaimer by Shadow of Intent. Everyone needs to go listen to that. I don't care who you are. Number 6, this is kind of a lesser-known band and album, but it's Return of the Black Butterflies by a band called Red Moon Architect. Now, this is something that I discovered on YouTube a while back, and I haven't stopped listening to it. It's the slowest metal that you'll probably ever listen to, but it's so affecting that it's just a joy to listen to. And I like slow stuff, and I want to make music like this because it's so beautiful. Number 5 is Utopia by Björk. Everyone needs to go listen to that and all of her earlier stuff, please. It'll make you smarter, I promise. And I know that's a pretentious thing to say, but it really will. Number 4, Relentless Mutation by Archspire. Talked about that one, that beautiful technical masterpiece that one is. Number 3, I have Lust for Life by Lana Del Rey. That was at number 3 on my list. Beautiful stuff there. Can't wait to listen to it again. Number 2, let's get some more deathcore on the list, why don't we? An album called Ulta Ola by Rings of Saturn. Now, Mike, I'm sure you can see through the webcam, I've got my beautiful... It's a...
Hey, I like me some Rings of Saturn, man.
Rings of Saturn is alien core, is a technical deathcore. It's just fun.
It's like if Power Man 5000 and Death Clock had a baby.
It's beautiful stuff, and they have really great artwork. The shirt that I'm wearing right now is it's Mewtwo fighting Beerus. And they put that on a shirt.
What more do you want, people?
So everyone go look at their merch store. You'll find some crazy stuff there. They got glow-in-the-dark stuff. They have really cool merch. But they have really good music, too. They have one of the best vocalists, I think. He's got one of the craziest growls, along with, going back to number 7, Shadow of Intent. That guy, his voice is a portal to the dark dimension. It really is. That dude makes some weird demonic sounds with his face. Number 1, we all know it was Xenocide by Aversion's Crown, the king of deathcore for 2017. So there you have it.
Well, before we hit my list, what were a couple of your honorable mentions? Ones that
Oh,
didn't quite make the list.
So I had another deathcore album called Revelation by Oceano. I had Gods of Violence by Creator on there. Creator. I think it's Creator, man. That makes sense.
I think you're right, too, but, man, Creator sounds so badass.
And then I had the Xandria album on there, Theater of Dimensions. And then I had an album called Cryptoriana, the Seductiveness of Decay by Cradle of Filth. Because you can't go... I know you don't like Cradle of Filth.
I don't know why I don't like Cradle of Filth. By all accounts, I should love Cradle of Filth.
Cradle of Filth is as gothic as it gets, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Her Ghost in the Fog is probably the one song by them that I like.
Well,
and that's honestly not the best song I've ever heard in my life, but it's the one that I listen to, and I'm like, all right, yeah, all right. Yeah.
It could be the weird screaming.
Oh, his pig squeal thing? Yeah, no, not a fan at all. But again, it's one of those bands I listen to, and I'm like, I'm not into it, but I get why other people are.
Yeah.
Was that all your honorable mentions, though?
Yeah, I had 4.
Okay. I struggled a lot with my list. My list I spent countless hours on. So mine's a little more all over the place in terms of genre. There's some metal, there's some pop, there's some kind of radio rock, there's some country. Number 10 right off the bat is Hydrograde by Stone Sour. I make no bones about how much of a Corey Taylor fan that I am. I love his books. I think the man has a wonderful sense of humor. I think he's a great human being, and I love the music he puts out. Stone Sour, this is coming off of doing a 2-part concept album that he also did the graphic novel for. That to me was one of the best pieces of music to come out of the last 10 years was that double album. And Hydrograde was just a great way of them getting, because you think, okay, they just did this huge concept album that got great reception. What do they do next? And they kind of went back to what they usually did. Just good kind of walking that fine line between hard rock and heavy metal. And I really dug it. My number 9 is another Christian, not metal band, but hard rock band. That's Red, with their album Gone. This is a band that I've been aware of since probably 2008 when I worked in radio, who have grown on me more and more as the years have gone on, who I kind of forgot about until this year. I saw them open for Breaking Benjamin at a concert in Columbus, and I was like, oh, they're still around? And everyone was like, yeah, they got a new album out. And I was like, oh, well, fuck me, I gotta go listen to it now. And it was honestly one of the better albums I think they've put out in the last few years. Number 8, Dear Desolation by Thy Art Is Murder. Can't go. That's one of the ones we had in common, had it exactly the same spot. Love that album, go check it out. Number 7 is another one that was on the top 10 list that Robert had on his honorable mentions, and it's Gods of Violence by Creator. I'm sticking with it, I'm bringing it back.
All right, man.
Don't care. Number 6 is probably the one that's going to make people scratch their heads the most.
It's not good.
And it's one that I struggled with really hard. You shut your face, Robert. I swear to God.
Metalcore is dead.
That's
why Trivium isn't good.
I'm going to fucking hit you in the face. It's Madness by All That Remains. Now, the reason I say this is controversial is because All That Remains is one of those bands that people are really divided about. And their last few albums, to me, have been passable at best. This particular album, I felt, was the first time in probably 7 or 8 years that their songwriting has at least felt honest and genuine. I felt the last 2 albums were pretty much cookie cutter, production line radio rock, because they used to be like borderline death metal when they first started. And every album they've done has been a little bit unique. This was the first time that I really felt like they gave a shit when they were making the album, especially when you get into some of the later tracks on the actual album. I know the first track really turned you off. I found it got better and better and better as the album went on. But my number 6 slot is one that, like, 7 different albums took that spot until I finally settled on this one. Number 5 is one we talked about earlier. It's on the top 10, and that's Theater of Dimensions by Xandria. Again, wonderful vocals, wonderful music. Probably one of the best symphonic metal albums come out this year. Number 4 for me was our number 1, and that's Lana Del Rey, Lust for Life. Didn't quite crack my top 3, but I think it was more just because my top 3 are ones that I listen to constantly. Whereas, as much as I love Lust for Life, it calls for a certain mood to listen to or a certain environment. Number 3 for me is one we talked about earlier. It's Outlive by Demon Hunter. Seriously, go fucking check out this album. It's awesome. Number 2 for me isn't going to be too much of a surprise because I gush about this dude constantly to people, and that is Chris Stapleton with his album From a Room Volume 1. Now, Volume 2 has not come out yet by the time we're recording this podcast. It's coming out at the end of December. And I'm sure it's going to be great as well, but it's not out yet. And we're not waiting until January to do this. But Chris Stapleton is a chubby, big-bearded, cowboy-looking motherfucker who spent the better part of his career as a studio musician just doing guitars and vocals for other artists, whose wife back in 2015 said, "Would you just put out a fucking album already?" And he did, and it cleaned house at the CMAs that year. So when you put another album out this year, everybody was like, oh, there's no way he can do that again. And he did it again, because Chris Stapleton is one of the best country artists working right now. The way he blends country and blues so seamlessly and beautifully is just something to behold. And then my number 1, as we talked about earlier, was The Sin and the Sentence by Trivium. Again, a lot of great story behind the album. They kind of got back on their feet with this album, went back to what they used to do, and I really enjoyed every track on the album. But some of my honorable mentions, In This Moment put out a new one called Ritual. I love In This Moment, even when they made the transition to kind of the weird burlesque metal they've been doing the last few albums. This one was a good album, and there's a really bitchin' track that was written by Billy Idol called Black Wedding that features Rob Halford from Judas Priest on the vocals, and it's a really good song. The rest of the album, to me, while it's good, sounded way too much like The Pretty Reckless and not enough like In This Moment. And the 3 best songs that are on the album were, one was written by Billy Idol and is basically a tribute to White Wedding, and the other 2 are covers. So, there you go. Septic Flesh, Codex Omega. We talked about that one earlier. Archspire, Relentless Mutation is on there. Sepultura put out a new album this year, Machine Messiah, that was fucking awesome. Unleash the Archers put out an album called Apex. They're a band who is kind of along the same lines of like Creator. It's power metal, but it's not stupid cheesy power metal. Iced Earth is a band I've been a fan of ever since Tim Owens was their vocalist. He was their vocalist for a while. Tim Owens was the vocalist of Judas Priest for a brief period, and he's also an Ohio boy like me, and I've been into Iced Earth ever since. And then one that made my honorable mentions list because it was just something so out of left field, and that's Vessels by Starset. And I've yet to come to a conclusion about how I really feel about the band and the album overall, but it was so different and unique, and it stood out to me so much that I had to at least put it on my honorable mentions list. But yeah, our lists are vastly different from each other.
Yeah, as I expected they would be.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping we would have a bit more crossover on my side in terms of, like, I was hoping I'd have more stuff on my list that you had on yours, but not what I mean is I was hoping that more of your stuff would be on my list. And a lot of it wound up in my honorable mentions. And for me, it just came down to what was I listening to more often and consistently. But also, there was so much fucking good music that came out this year.
Damn right.
Like sweet Jesus, there was so much good. Like, my honorable mentions list that's not on the Google Doc we're both reading off of right now is probably a page long. Just Google 2017 in music in the U.S. and just read the fucking list. I mean, it's ridiculous how much good music came out this year. So, yeah, man.
Can't wait for 2018. It's going to be a good year for video games, too.
It's going to be a great year for video games, a great year for films, for music, especially because Eventide Entertainment is dropping the music fucking like crazy in 2018, y'all.
Crazy.
Just saying. Shameless plug. Eventide Entertainment is coming in 2018 to kick all y'all and light a fire under your asses.
Kick you right in the gooch.
Right in the gooch. And then make love to your ears with the music.
That's right.
So
slippery, slimy love.
Man, this was a fun show to put together. This was a fun process, getting all these lists made and picking through all the music that came out this year, man.
I like doing lists. I
do too.
It's a you know, I don't want to say overused, but it's an oft used format. But it doesn't get old, really.
It works.
Yeah.
It's off use because it works. One of my favorite podcasts right now is called The Top 10 Show. Literally, every week, a new top 10 list dealing with films.
There you go.
So, yeah, we might do more of these in the future. We'll see.
I think so.
We're definitely, you know, God willing, we're still around at the end of 2018, doing a best of 2018. But who knows what's coming in the future. Like we said at the beginning of the show, guys, this is going to be the last one for 2017. We'll be back end of January 2018, taking a few weeks off because the Christmas holidays are right around the corner. My birthday is at the beginning of January. We've got a bunch of artists we're cranking out here soon, starting cranking out recording schedules, video shoots happening. It's going to be a busy next 4 to 5 weeks. So,
yes, sir.
Taking a break for a few weeks, just like all your favorite TV shows, taking a break for a few weeks. The difference is, whereas they're not coming back until March, we're coming back in 4 to 5 weeks.
Can't beat that.
So, a lot of great things coming in 2018. And with that being said, Robert, I think we have a show.
Good.
So
I'm glad that you think so. Oh, that was so salty.
Right? Oh, man.
Nothing but love.
Nothing but love. So, before we go, you know what? Good music of 2017. Brand new single dropped this past weekend. Robert, why don't you tell them a little bit about what it is?
I've got a project, a dark electronic project with my wife, my waifu, Candice, a.k.a. Inari, DJ extraordinaire. It's called Data Drain, and we just put out a single called Dark Empyrean. If anyone is a Tales of Berseria fan, you might know where that comes from. I like to make obscure video game references and things, but it's a techno track that we just put out. So on Bandcamp, you can go to our website and find it. You can go to our Bandcamp, find it. It's on our SoundCloud. It costs $1 if you want to download it and have it forever. It costs $1. You can also stream it. So there you go. I hope everyone checks it out. We're going to be releasing an EP in February.
Only $1, folks. Seriously, like Eventide Entertainment's Bandcamp and Taco Bell are the only places where $1 still goes a long way anymore. Okay, just saying. You walk into Taco Bell with a $5 bill, you are the king of Taco Bell for that evening. Like,
that's right. How many of those little what are those little balls that have the nice jizzy cream in them?
Oh, the Cinnabon balls?
Ah, yes. I wonder how many of those you can buy for $5.
So many, all of them. Oh man! So yeah, check out Data Drain. Good stuff. The new single up right now. Go to eventideent.com. You can get all the links to everything you need there. New music from 12 Gauge, Fraction. I'm sorry, I don't know why you said Fracture. Let's start again. 12 Gauge, Fraction, Choke Hazard, Data Drain, Citizen 7, Inari, and Stylus, and The Careless Whisperer, all coming in 2018. Plus, God knows what the hell else.
Maybe some Cloud Jolt.
Maybe some Cloud Jolt. Maybe some Failures of Infinity. Who knows?
Ooh.
Who knows, man?
Or maybe Bogeyman's Tears will make a comeback.
Man, 2018 is Eventide Entertainment's, like, you know how the you say "oh no" too many times, and the Kool-Aid Man destroys half your house and shares delicious Kool-Aid with you. Eventide Entertainment is going to be the Kool-Aid Man to your house of music in 2018.
I hope so. But do you ever see the Kool-Aid Man actually sharing what's inside of him?
Probably not. That's his lifeblood. So he probably just brings extra Kool-Aid. Like he goes to a blood bank and donates blood being Kool-Aid into like blood bank bags. It's like, here kids, drink my blood. I mean Kool-Aid. I'm fucking retarded. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. So that's it for us for 2017, everybody. Stick around. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next year. Ha 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 ha. Take my microphone away from me, please.